Welcome to Unchained CEO. Here we talk about how to get free from your stupid, horrible BS 9-to-5 job and develop your own location independent business so you can live out of your laptop or whatever and travel the world to do whatever you want and live a more free life, and perhaps move out of your collapsing Western country, or at least set up an international backup plan and do all these things for very little money. Today we have two topics. I'm going to do the first one first. This is the one that you're all worried about, this Iran thing. Once again, it's all fine. Don't worry about it. And then in a little while, Billy will join us and we'll talk about overthinking, which is a listing problem that many of you have. Cool. All right. I'm going to jump right into the first topic. There's not a lot of time. This Iran thing. So first of all, step one, take a deep breath and relax. Every time this happens about twice a year now, something in the world happens, and a strong percentage you think we're all going to die, and it's now World War III. I mean, you said that in October when the thing with Israel. Oh, God, World War III, Caleb. No, I've been 100% right about this since the day I was born. I'm always right about this. No, you're fine. Then you said this about, when Kim Jong-un was doing that. So, World War III, we're all going to die. Okay, no, you're not. It's fine. Let me explain how this works. And first, number one, take a deep breath, calm down. Everything will be fine if you're concerned about this. A lot of you aren't. I'm not concerned at all. And I live in Dubai. It's fine. But I have gotten questions. First thing, because I just got the phone with my daughter a few hours ago. Dad, are we going to have World War III now? Twice a year, you all think we're going to have World War III, and you never do, because we were not going to. Let's see. That's the first thing. Second thing, the mainstream media's job is to make you scared. They make a lot of money when you're scared about stuff. And it is I've said this many times. I have to say this again. Every time an event in the world happens, it's scary. I have to repeat myself because you guys forget this. It is amazing to me that many of you who think the mainstream media is lying about everything suddenly becomes 100% honest when they tell you that the world is on a brink of war, or Europe's the brink of war, or the Middle East on the brink of war. And suddenly the mainstream media that you assume are lying to you all the time are 100% honest. So when the mainstream media says, Biden got more votes than Trump, well, they're lying. The mainstream media, they lie about everything. But if they say the Middle East is on the verge of war, you guys suddenly believe everything that comes out of their mouths because you want to be scared. The mainstream media lies, and they lie 100% of the time. They're not 100% honest 10% of the time whenever there's a war, and lying the other 90%. The job of the mainstream media is to make you scared. They make money based on how scared you are. Okay, so if you're scared, the elites have won once again. You've got to remember sorry, I can't talk. You got to remember this is societal programming. Societal programming is false. I wrote a whole book about that called The Unchained Man. Maybe you should read it. Okay, next thing. I already did an entire video on my Unchained CEO YouTube channel. You can watch that if you want, and I think you should, where I go into details about Iran's threat to various countries, especially the UAE, which is where I live. And you should watch that video, go into more detail about it. I will summarize it here. In order for one country to militarily threaten or attack another country, there's only 4 ways to do this. Militarily. Yes, you could do cyber warfare and things like that, but that's, I'm talking about militarily. There's only 4 ways one country can militarily attack another country. It's either sea, land, air, or missiles. Okay, that's it. There's no other way to do it. So there is a strait of ocean between Iran and the rest of the Middle East, including here in Dubai, right? So that means land is out of the question. Now, Iran has a very strong military that is land-based. That is only an issue if they attack Turkey, which they're not. Turkey has a bigger military than Iran. Or if you invade Iran with tanks, which no one is going to do, including the United States. They are not going to militarily on the ground invade Iran. That is not going to happen. All right? Okay. So land is out of the question. I live here in Dubai. Iran can't threaten me via land. I'm nowhere near in terms of land. So that leaves sea, air, and missiles. Sea. As I described in that video, Iran can't do that either. If they load a bunch of tanks onto a bunch of slow-moving boats, they will be blown out of the water by some of the most effective air forces in the world in the Middle Eastern area. So sea is also not an option. Okay? Air Force. Air Force. Iran's Air Force sucks ass as compared to even the UAE, Saudi Arabia, even Syria. And certainly, of course, you have the United States with their aircraft carriers and England. So if there were a bunch of fighter planes coming across the strait to attack anyone in the Middle East, including Israel, they'd be wiped out within about 10 seconds. I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much. Okay? So that leaves missiles. The only thing they've got is missiles. That's why the only thing they did was By the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Iran launched about 330 missiles and drones at Israel because Israel stupidly blew up one of Iran's embassies. Again, both sides are always wrong on these things. And so Iran launched some missiles a day or two ago. All right. And everyone thinks it's World War III now. Not everybody, but a lot of people. Or think, Caleb, you're in the UAE. Are you worried? Do I look worried? No, I'm flying to Saudi Arabia in a few days after my birthday this week. It's fine. So let me talk about missiles now. Now we know this for sure. Number one, and I've been saying this for 25 years, especially when I debate neoconservatives, John McCain types, because these neocons, these Republicans in the United States have been dying to attack Iran for 20 years now. Iran is not suicidal. If Iran was suicidal, they could have bombed or sent bombs over the United States and done all kinds of horrible things. They know if they did that, the entire world would go against them and they'd be a sheet of glass. One of the interesting things about the Middle East is that everyone hates Israel, and also in the Middle East, I mean, and also everyone in the Middle East also hates Iran. Matter of fact, we're getting to the point now where many countries hate Iran more than they hate Israel. Saudi Arabia is kind of already there. Saudi Arabia actually hates Iran more than they hate Israel, which is a big change in geopolitics. So Iran is kind of on their own, just to be aware of this. And Iran knows this. The people who run Iran are not insane. They don't want to die. They want to stay in power. How do we know this for sure? Well, when Iran launched these missiles against Israel, did they launch them against civilian targets like Hamas does? No. They launched them against military targets. They were very, very careful to only launch them against military targets. Why did they do that? Because they're not insane, because they're not suicidal. If they had launched missiles into the city and killed thousands upon thousands of civilians, which they can't, we'll talk about that next. The missiles aren't going to hurt anybody. Talk about it in a second. They'd be fucked. The entire world would just go smoke and Iran would be a sheet of glass. They don't want that to happen. So they were very careful to do this. Now, next thing. The only way they can attack is by launching missiles. Again, I analyzed this on this channel a year ago when people said, Caleb, what if Iran ever attacks Dubai? Why would Iran attack Dubai? Anyway, this is why I'm not worried. When Iran launched these missiles, they launched approximately 170 drones, which is equivalent to a missile, okay, in this case. They launched something like 120 ballistic missiles and about 30 cruise missiles. Ballistic missiles are the dumb missiles. Cruise missiles are the dangerous, smart ones where you can actually kind of steer them. They're intelligent. Whereas ballistic missiles, just you launch those, it uses the curvature of the earth and just smashes into stuff. And again, they launch these all at military targets. Now, I'm going to explain why this happened, but this is what happened, and a lot of people understand this. Of the 330-ish missiles/drones that Iran launched against Israel, how many actually hit targets in Israel? Out of 330, how many? I don't know if any of you know in the chat. If you know in the chat, tell me. How many actually made it through the defense net and hit targets in Israel? The answer is approximately 2. Okay? 2 out of 330. Is Iran a threat? No. They launched, let me say this again. You guys are all panicking. 330 missiles and drones, only 2 got through. Now, why is that? Because the Middle East airspace is some of the most vehemently and effectively defended airspace probably in the world. Probably. There are many parts of the Middle East that the skies are safer than in the continental United States because America backs Israel. And so there is a defense net with American, UK, Israeli, Saudi Arabian, and Syrian defense forces, air forces, and anti-missile batteries all over the all over the Middle East. Iran is 1,000 miles away from Israel. So as soon as they launched these stupid missiles, as soon as they left Iranian airspace, and in some cases before they left, all these countries knew these missiles were coming literally 1,000 miles away. And they said, oh, let's shoot them down. So they scrambled a bunch of, Air Force fighter jets, blew a bunch of missiles out of the water. The few that survived were taken out by anti-missile batteries. That's why out of 330 missiles, only 2 got through. Okay? Do you see why I'm not concerned about this at all, living in Dubai? Again, and I talked about in the video that I did earlier, Why would Iran launch missiles against Dubai? I said in that video when I did a year or two ago, if they're launching missiles against anyone, they're launching them in Israel. Again, the adjacent enemy rule, don't live in Israel. That would be stupid. I'm not saying Israel is stupid. I'm saying you're stupid if you live there, because why would you live in a country where a bunch of people want to attack it? Namely the Palestinians or the Palestinian Authority, all right? Plus now is Iran, right? So that's the next thing. Next statistic, of the 330 missiles that were launched into Israel, how many people got killed? Would you like to take a guess as how many people died from this missile attack that everyone's freaked out about? And the mainstream media is saying, oh my God, we're all going to go to war. How many died? How many people died? Zero. Nobody. How many people got wounded? As far as we know, the news may change. This happened, a day or two ago. As far as we know, one little girl got a little wounded, went to the hospital. She's fine. A piece of a missile. She was living near an Air Force base. A piece of a missile, not the missile, piece that flew out and went through her bedroom and hurt her. That's it. 330. Only 2 got through. No one got killed. 1 got. The other one hit like near a runway or something. It's fine. It's fine. So now, so it's fine. No big deal. Iran is not a threat. Iran is only a threat if you get a bunch of tanks and drive them into Iran in the Iranian border. Then you're going to have a problem. That's why one of the reasons the United States hasn't done it, even though a lot of neocons want to do that. Is that a threat anywhere to the Middle East outside of Iran? No. Now, next piece to this is that you've got the mainstream media again. Oh my God, the Middle East is on the brink of war. We're on the brink of war, everybody. I saw these reports that Chiron said, brink of war. I'm like, oh God. And if you actually watch the video or listen to what they say, or actually, read the article, brink of war. Are we at the brink of war? No, let me explain. Every country in the world involved in this, except Israel, cover that in a second, every country, including the United States, which I'm shocked, actually surprised, is trying to de-escalate. Every country is saying, hey, Israel, chill, bro. Don't do anything. It's okay. Don't fight. We're okay. Okay. Now that's, by the way, that's very good news. And you don't hear me report a lot of good news lately or ever, do you? I talk about Western collapse. It's still happening. Okay. That's good news. If this had happened 15, 20, 25 years ago, when George W. Bush, people like George Bush and, John McCain were running things, even Barack Obama, if this had happened, the United States government would have been, oh, let's go get these motherfuckers. Now we have an excuse to invade Iran. Yay. Now you got the Biden administration and a lot of Republicans. And all the countries involved, all the countries saying, hey, relax, Israel. Don't do anything. We don't want more war. Good. This is a good thing. This is very good news. I was surprised how good this is. Now, the only one that's a little pissed off is, of course, Israel, because Israel's a right-wing country, and right-wingers, as I've discussed many times, both people and countries overreact to everything. That's what right-wingers do. They overreact. Okay? So what has Israel said? We're going to retaliate at some point later down the road when it makes sense. That's it. Does that sound like the brink of war? No. It's all good. Don't worry. It's fine. As always, when you look at these things, dig into the facts, evaluate the facts, don't look at headlines, and remember the mainstream media lies, and its job is to make you scared. And remember, the next time you think the mainstream media is lying, remind yourself that the next time there's some scary event that goes on in the world, they're going to lie to you again. You guys were all terrified when Putin invaded Ukraine. Oh, we're going to have a nuclear war now. I said, no, you're not. They're not. As I've said many times, here's a bigger macro topic on this. I do not predict World War III, and I said this for many years, because the elites would lose too much money. The elites like lots of little tiny isolated wars. Those are very profitable for the elites. They love those. They love those. They do. None of the elites, not one of them, want a world war. So that's why the odds of a world war occurring are very, very, very low. I don't anticipate that even in terms of Western collapse scenarios. World war. I don't anticipate. I just don't. And I've said many times, if that were to happen, it would have already happened during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1963 and many other events before that were many, many years ago. If World War III was a possibility, we would have already had it a long time ago, and we haven't because the elites don't want it. The elites don't want the entire earth nuked. They don't. They don't want it. They don't even want to use tactical nuclear weapons in the battlefield, which Putin could have done. Putin could have launched tactical nukes, not strategic. Strategic nuke is the difference between strategic and tactical. If you don't know anything about military, strategic is where you launch a nuke against Los Angeles and it wipes out an entire city, mass devastation. Tactical nukes you use on the battlefield. They're much smaller. They're made to wipe out an approaching army, not a city. And Putin could have very easily could have used tactical nukes in Ukraine. In terms of, when I say easy, I mean politically easy, but militarily could have just pressed a button and he would have been fine. Didn't do it, did he? Because he's one of the elites and they don't want that. Okay? Even the elites who run Israel, even the elites, and they aren't elites, the people who run Iran don't want that. Iran could have launched a lot more weapons than this, right? They could have. They didn't. Iran could have launched weapons into, Tel Aviv, into the city. They didn't do that. They made damn sure to not do that. Iran had to save face because Israel bombed their Syrian embassy, so they had to do something like, okay, let's do something. Let's launch some missiles. Okay, we're good. And even Israel, who is Mr. Hair Trigger, loves to overreact and, kill thousands of people whenever they get pissed off. Even they're saying, all right, we'll get around to it. By the way, if you don't know, if you notice, Israel's a little busy at the moment. So the last thing they want to fight is on multiple fronts. And Israel's, daddy, United States, is saying, hey, man, chill, relax, which is a first. So this is actually good news. It's not, war is never good news, but no one got hurt. No one's in danger. No one's going to war. All good. Okay, that's it. Let's see here. I'm on time here. Billy's going to join us in about 15 minutes. What else do I say about that really quick? I'll answer a few of your questions. I guess that's it. Yeah. Do you think I would have moved to a Middle Eastern country if I thought there was even a 3% chance of me getting involved in some kind of war? Do you think? You don't think I did any analysis on this before I made this move? Do you think? Do you think? Do you think? I'm one of the safest places in the world, Dubai. Not just crime, but from war as well. I've said this many times in terms of comparing Dubai to you guys who still live in the collapsing Western world. There are more nuclear weapons pointed at your head if you live in the United States, Canada, Europe, than pointed at me. Fact. Let me say that again so it penetrates your thick skulls. Some of you understand this, a lot of you don't. If you live in the United States right now, or Canada, or Western Europe, and many parts of Eastern Europe, there are more nuclear weapons pointed at your house, at your home, than are pointed at me here in my apartment here in Dubai. By far. I don't know if any nuclear weapons are pointed at me at all. I don't think so. I don't think any are because we have oil here. There's all kinds of fucking weapons pointed at your fucking head. And not just Russian ones, but Chinese ones too. I read one of the books written by Bill Clinton's bodyguard many years ago. And this is the guy who had the nuclear football, who followed Bill Clinton around with the magical briefcase, where if there's World War III, he presses a button and launches the nukes. This was the guy in charge of this. And he wrote this big, after he was done and retired, he wrote this big book about this. And it was very interesting. He said he saw Bill Clinton give a speech. This is back in the 90s, okay? And Bill Clinton got up in there, and him and his advisors were sitting there watching the speech in like the cafeteria in the same building. And Bill Clinton said, as of now, thanks to me, because I'm so awesome, I'm Bill Clinton, there are no Chinese nuclear weapons pointed at any American cities. And the guy was like, what? And all of his advisors turned and looked at each other like, he's lying. There's hundreds of Chinese missiles pointed at American cities. That hasn't changed. What the fuck? He's fucking lying. So there are hundreds, if not thousands, of nuclear weapons pointed at your head. None pointed at me here in Dubai. Not to mention things like crime rates. Dubai is effectively 0%. What's the crime rate in your city? So there you go. All right, let me answer a few questions where Billy comes on here. We're going to talk about overthinking, which I'll talk about in a second. I want to know how to start doing good enough video tutorials for my students, but I procrastinate. How can I find someone competent to show me this? Upwork.com. Have you ever come across more powerful time management technique methodology than E3D? Yes, but they're very focused to certain scenarios that are very unusual. How can I best niche my email marketing business? Determine a niche that requires email marketing. That is a very narrow niche of a type of company that is extremely narrow. Fitness is not a niche. And just start researching niches and determine one. Find one that, and then best niches are ones that in your case, really need the business and sell high margin things. What do you think about Bitcoin mining in Paraguay due to cheap and abundant hydroelectric energy? That's one of the main reasons I like Paraguay. Paraguay's awesome. If I move abroad, how can I manage all the administrative tasks smoothly? What people are important to contact, have in my network, have all the info I need? Use something like Basecamp. That's it. Use something like Basecamp, email. There's no magic to it. It's no big deal. I just heard about the Iran thing. The media keeps hyping things up for decades. It's their job. Their job, very similar to doctors. Doctors' job, I've written articles about this on my other brand. Doctors' job is to scare you. And they view it as like their role. Oh, yes, our role is to scare the shit out of people with these 2% rule scenarios that are never happen, because that's how they're trained. MSM, same thing. Their job is to scare you. The MSM's job is to scare you. The elite's job is to make you mad at other people. So if you're mad at other people, if you're a Trump supporter and you're mad at woke people, the elites love that because you're not mad at the elites. If you're a woke person, you're mad at Trump supporters or Republicans or right-wingers or Christians, the elites love that shit because you're not mad at them. The elites love people yelling. That's why elites love these little wars. They love this stuff. The elites loved that when Putin invaded Ukraine. They didn't love that necessarily, although some of them did. The fact that the left immediately started defending Ukraine, the right immediately started defending Putin, both of which are wrong and stupid. The elites love that shit. They get so they're high five. Oh, thank God, they're yelling at each other. They're letting us do our thing of destroying the United States and destroying Canada and making trillions of dollars. Hang on a sec. Have a drink. I know you recommend Guadalajara and Mexico. I recommend Mexico as a country. Is that your son's favorite city in Mexico, or does he prefer another? Well, he's usually on these live streams. If he pops on, he can answer that question. I don't know. He's definitely there. That's where he spends most of his time. I don't know if that's his favorite city, though. He's been all over Mexico, more than I have. Greater than 2% chance, but less than 10% that a U.S. embassy or Israeli embassy in UAE is attacked in the next 5 years. Show me your data. Show me your links. And again, even if that is, I don't work at the embassy. I don't care. Don't care. The only people who would bomb anything in the UAE would be the Houthis. And, you know, their days are numbered. So, yeah. I'm starting a consulting business for the enrollment is now open portion of my sales page. Instead of putting, but only until May 10th, 2024, would it be as effective as to put 4 seats remaining? No, the first would be more effective, but that's not really, you really can't do that in a consulting business. Consulting business, you're not selling online courses. So no, but yeah, the first one's more effective. My Alpha 2.0 business earns $10K a month with 7 to 10 hours a week. Good. Aiming for 18 to 20K at 20, 30 hours a week. Now live in Japan. Cool. That's awesome, dude. When should I start to plan on investing? That question has nothing to do with your income. Whether or not to invest has nothing to do with your income. It has to do with your debt. Your debt and your savings, nothing to do with your income. Any asset class to get started. All right, let me repeat the Alpha 2.0 investing model. Step 1, you pay off all of your debt. You can have any debt. I don't know if you have debt or not. If you live in Japan, you probably don't. You cannot have any debt. If you do, you pay that off first before you invest 1 penny in anything. Okay? Next, when your debt is paid off, this is very similar to Dave Ramsey with a Caleb twist. You need to come up with a budget of how much money you need to survive and make per month to pay your basic bills. Your basic bills, okay? Whatever that number is, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $10,000 a month, whatever you live, whatever your lifestyle is. Then with that monthly figure, you need to put into a savings account or a money market account or some other cash equivalent, USD coin if you want to be crypto, if you want to be fancy, it's fine. 6 to 12 months of living expenses in that account. My number is 8. Pick a number between 6 and 12 months of living expenses. So mine is 8. I always have 8 months of cash, no matter what else is going on in my life. So if any problems occur, I have 8 months to figure it out. I don't have to freak out and lose my house and lose my car and borrow and credit cards. And I got 8 months to figure this shit out if any problems occur. So maybe it's in your case, it's 6 months. Fine. 12 months, whatever you want to do. Okay. Then you invest. Then you start investing after that with 0 debt and 6 to 12 months of savings in the bank. Don't use a bank, please. Use a money market account. like through Schwab or Fidelity, something like that, or cash or something like that. Don't use a bank. Then you invest. And in terms of what to invest is a very big topic. That's how it works. Is the book How to Live Free in an Unfree World a good read? Yes, highly recommended. It is the precursor to my book. Yes. New to your channel, I haven't completely assimilated your views, but what are you feeling on Switzerland? If you could afford the flat tax, how safe is it in your opinion? The crime rate in Switzerland is very low. I don't like anything in Europe because Europe is collapsing. Switzerland is collapsing a little slower than the rest of Western Europe, but I wouldn't live anywhere in Western Europe, period. You could spend X number of months there, but I would never use that as a primary living flag in just about anywhere in Europe. What do you think about buying land in Belize? Buying land is a very complicated, buying land in another country is an extremely complicated process. That's why I've held off on it. I'm going to. I have big plans for Paraguay. I have big plans for Southeast Asia. But it's so complex, and I don't want to do things wrong, and I can invest and make money other ways. I'm taking it step by step. But I think it's a great idea. Sure. Casablanca is a great movie. Agree. Rick Blaine is Bogey's greatest character ever. Rick Blaine was a loving man shrouded in cynicism. He was the greatest Sigma male archetype of all time. I don't know about that. Don't know about that. I can think of some other examples that are pretty good, but yeah, I agree. Casablanca is the shit, dude. Great. Have you attended or will Brown or Charlie Morgan's mastermind in Dubai? I don't know if I can answer those questions. I don't think I'm going to answer those questions publicly. I know what you're talking about, though. Should I ask my target niche what their biggest problems are? That is required. Yes, you must do that because you don't want to guess what their problem is. Yes, of course. Or should I just ask them if there's a large need for my services this niche? No, that's what most business owners do. What is your biggest? You take yourself out of the equation and all your abilities and all your skill sets and all your desires out of the equation, and you go to your niche and ask them, what's your biggest problem without you involved at all? And you listen, which is very hard to do. In business builder, it's hard for people to do this. They always want to do, I'm good at something, so I want to do this. No, so I make money in the business fast. Does living expenses equal just rent and food? No, everything you have. Do you have a car? How about utilities? Do you have a girlfriend? Does she cost any money? Anything. Everything you spend your money on that is required. Everything. Do you have children? Insurance? Do you have health insurance? Anything. Everything. Other than taxes. Because you're pulling money out of a savings account, you're not dealing with taxes, right? No. Mind talking more about Paraguay? I am living in the U.S. My plan B is Paraguay. Sure, what's your question? I trade options as a business, but my concern is the money in my portfolio is stored in American Bank. Yeah, I don't like that. Should I find another broker where my portfolio is money in a bank outside the West? I would. That's your decision. I would. You can have money in the U.S. I have money in the U.S. I don't want anything long-term. I don't want any long-term assets in any Western country. Transitory assets are fine. I have quite a bit of money in Western banks, but it's not there permanently. It's there as, it's operating expenses, right? So I would not, if it's operating expenses, you make the money, goes to an American bank, then you transfer it the hell out of your American bank somewhere non-Western or stateless, like crypto, and then you're fine. That's great. I just wouldn't leave it there. What elements should I pay more attention to for a high ticket sales page aimed at C-suite upper management clients? What elements? It's a very general question. I understand your question. What elements? You're basically talking about copywriting. Copywriting, the easiest way to do this problem is the formula problem, agitate, solve. You have this problem. Agitate. This problem really sucks, doesn't it? It makes you feel like shit. It makes you pissed off. Oh, it's all so awful. Oh my God. Solution. Your solution is this. With my da-da-da-da-da-da, give it a cool name, you will solve this problem and improve your life by X, B, 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 and you have a bulleted list. Should you use your own name on brand on your, should you use your own name or your brand on your website URL? If that is your brand, yes. I have calebjones.com. Sure. How bad are tax rates in Mexico? They're zero if you spend less than 6 months a year there. If you spend more than 6 months a year there, they're not horrible, but they're not zero. But they're better than Colombia, way better than the US, but they're not Dubai. So they're fair, I should say. The surface level look seems to show tax rates as bad as the USA. No, they're not. Is there a way to significantly lower this while still being a tax residence? I can't help you with how to do with Mexican tax law. Can your living expenses fund be kept in precious metals? No, your living expenses fund must be cash, cash, cash. And if your answer is, well, what about inflation? An emergency savings account is not an investment. It's not. Now, let me back up let me back up. If there's a lot of money in your if you have a high lifestyle, I spend a decent amount of money in my life. If you have a lot of money in your emergency fund because it's like a year, you can offset it like 40% with gold. Not precious metals, not silver, gold. Use that as a hedge against inflation. That's okay. If you're a lot of money in your emergency fund. Other than that, no. Cash. Cash, cash, cash. I mean, are there structural differences you make to your sales page for high-ticket consulting packages versus a 400 course besides schedule a call button? No. No, it's the same thing. No, it's all schedule a call. Is the Dubai Mastermind in April your big announcement as you emailed yesterday? No. Should I get residency in a country? Billy is here. Hang on a second.
Hey, Caleb.
Make sure you can.
I cannot hear you. I think I'm having a problem. 1 second. Yeah.
Should I get residency in a country if I'm just starting my Alpha 2.0 biz and won't get ready to leave for around 2 years? Yes, because yes. Here's why. What do I keep saying? 5 flags, it's more difficult every year. The residency you want may not be available in 2 years, or maybe it'll cost $50,000 to get in 2 years. So you should get it now. Anything you think you might need later, if it's 5 flags related, you should get now. This stuff gets harder every year. Should I wait 2 years? No, do it now. If you know you're going to need it, don't wait on anything 5 flags related. I've said this once, I'll say this again. My prediction is, and I could be wrong, but my prediction is within about 10 years-ish, 5 flags, the way I describe it, at least you could figure 5 flags many different ways. But the way that I talk about 5 flags will only be available by people worth at least $10 million or more. Wealthy fuckers. Normal people won't be able to do it. I didn't say you won't be able to get residency somewhere else. I'm talking about 5. You won't be able to do it. It'll be too expensive. So yeah. Can you hear me, Billy?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Cool. I can.
Yay.
Let me answer 2 or 3 more questions. We'll get to big topic today. Are you buying any more Bitcoin? It's fluctuating a little. I really shouldn't answer that question. I don't want to talk about what I do investing, especially with Bitcoin publicly, because people would misunderstand what I'm doing. So I mentioned earlier that I've become kind of a Bitcoin maximalist lately, last 7 months or so. So I've really changed my mind on some aspects of Bitcoin, but I don't want to talk about it publicly because people won't understand what I'm saying and they'll do the wrong thing. And plus, I don't want to focus on investing advice because that's not my area. I've done well with it, but you know. Can you please remind me of the site you use for your privacy policy and cookie thing? I don't have a site for that. Okay. So pause questions here. If you have more questions, go and ask them. And Billy and I will circle back when we're done talking about this.
We're going to talk about today. What? For the privacy policies, guys, you can use sites such as LegalZoom. Just to do some searches for those legal resource websites that will at least give you a template. And in most cases, that is free. So check out LegalZoom and other tools like that to find legal help and prepare document templates.
Have you used Rocket Lawyer?
Not for a couple of years, but yeah, they're both great tools.
Okay, you've used that. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So when you do your legal stuff, are you using LegalZoom? What do you tend to use?
I usually use LegalZoom. I mean, I do also Coach Matt, who's on my team, his dad owns a very large and prestigious law firm. So I have them as allies on my side, but I also use LegalZoom for the day-to-day.
Yeah, okay.
But I've never needed to use a law firm for anything. We don't have anything major. We've never had anything major.
I never needed to use a law firm. When I got divorced, other than that, no. I don't think I've had to use a law firm for anything myself. Maybe, yeah, I think I've done everything online. I've had to consult with attorneys, but I've never had to use a law firm for like a big thing. Yeah. Same. Thank God. Knock on wood. The goal in life is, by the way, you guys, the goal in life is to not get sued ever. And a good attorney, there's an old saying, a good attorney keeps you out of court. Cool. Today, we're going to talk about a problem that many of you have. This was actually Billie's idea for this topic. So you can thank Billie for this. As soon as she said this, she and I were texting. I said, you have any ideas for topics? She's like, you gave me one topic and then you said overthinking. I said, oh my God, overthinking. Holy shit. So I talk about the LISG, low income smart guy or gal, LISG. And this is a person who is very smart, usually very educated, knows everything, listens to all the podcasts, reads all the books, watches all the YouTube videos, and doesn't make shit for money because you never actually go out in the world and build a business because you're too scared of making a mistake like a big pussy. Mm-hmm. So, and Billie wouldn't say that, but I would.
Oh, he's such an ass, but whatever.
There you go. All right. So now, many of you, maybe even most of you in my audience, maybe more than 50% of you, it's possible. It could be my rough guess is that at least 35% of you are LISGs. Maybe it's 60% of you. God damn, it could be. One of the challenges with being smart, and we address this in Business Builder sometimes.
All the time.
I definitely bring this up, is that A, you're smart. Great, you're smart. That's wonderful. The problem with being smart is that you overthink shit. And so if you're too smart, you think all this shit while the person who's a little less smart than you goes out in the world and takes action. So my favorite saying that I learned many years ago was that A students grow up to work for C students. And the reason is the C student is more likely to actually take action than the A student because the C student's not going to sit there and think about it. In one of my favorite books, which is actually right over it's right there. It's called Action by Robert Ringer. He talks about the difference between a philosopher and Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was not the smartest man in the world. He wasn't. Yeah. But he's one of the most successful men in entertainment history because he took action. And he gives this hypothetical scenario of the philosopher versus Frank Sinatra. How would the philosopher describe a rock? And how would Frank Sinatra describe a rock? So the philosopher said the rock is part of the earth and it is part of purity and it's gravity and it's pure essence at its, and then Frank Sinatra says it's a fucking rock. Let's go. That's it. So when you have the challenge of overthinking, it delays or even hinders or even prevents success because you're too busy fucking thinking about stuff. You want to say something about that before we get into like technique?
Yeah, I want to say that is why people like me have an advantage, especially with ADHD, impulsivity, because being successful in business and creating your own business specifically is about two things. You learn something, you take action. Dum-dums, C students, Caleb and I, learn something and we act upon that. We take that knowledge forward and we use it. We employ it as quickly as we can. We don't give it too much thought. If it doesn't work, we try something else. So it's really as simple as that. We learn and we take action. And the smarter you are, the more you're going to overthink all of those options. When you have ADHD, and this is why so many people with ADHD are very successful entrepreneurs, is we lack impulse control in a lot of ways. And it can be learned, but it's a huge benefit in business because we don't let obstacles get in our way. We're impatient. We want to get things done. So we just keep plowing ahead. Huge advantage.
I want to re-mention, and Billie, you can mention yours too, my educational background. Okay, you ready for this? Especially if you are highly educated, a lot of you are. My GPA, grade point average in high school, was 1.1. That is a D plus. Well, no, that's a D minus. That is a D minus. That's just above failing. 1.1 GPA. And I was making six figures in 1990s dollars by the time I was 27 years old. I was making the inflation equivalent of about 70,000 a year now by the time I was about 20. Now, let me go on. I did not graduate high school. My mom hates it when I say this publicly. She can't stand it, even to this day. I guess she's over it now. It's been a while because my mom's a teacher. My dad. So let me back up. My dad had and has 2 master's degrees and a PhD. Okay. My mom has 2 master's degrees. My sister has a master's degree. My brother has a bachelor's degree. I come from an extremely high educated family. And then there's shithead Caleb, who I didn't drop out of high school. I went all 4 years. I was 2 credits shy of getting, because of my 1.1 GPA, the way my high school worked was you could get 2 Fs and still get enough credit to graduate. And I said, okay, cool. I'll get an F in algebra 2 and I'll get an F in this other class that's stupid. And then I could graduate. And I didn't calculate right. I got 3 Fs. So I was 1 credit shy of graduating. So I was able to go to my graduation. They said, you've got enough credits to go to the graduation ceremony, but you're not going to get your diploma. So when they were handing out diplomas, they have this little leather case. They call it Caleb Jones. I walk up there in my gown, and they hand me this little leather case. I go back, you open it, and I open it. There's nothing in there. They all had their diplomas. I didn't have one. And so my mom begged me, oh, just go to summer school and get that credit. And you can get your high school diploma. I said, why? You go, fuck. I did not go to college. I spent a grand total of 6 weeks in a community college. And the only reason I did that is my mom convinced me, okay, I said, I want to go to college, Mom. She goes, oh, it's not like, college isn't like high school. See, in high school, you don't do your homework. They like get on your ass. And see, college, you're just a number. No one cares. I said, no, okay, maybe. So then I went to, I was taking one of the computer classes I was taking. And it was 6 weeks in, maybe not even 6 weeks. And I still remember this. I was 18, or I think it was 18. The college professor comes back to the end of the class and says, hey, by the way, you're missing these 4 assignments. He gave me this little sticky note, these like 4 assignments. I said, okay, thank you very much. He went back up. I stood up, walked out, and never went back. And there you go. That is my educational background. Billy, what's your educational background? You have a little more than me, but not much.
Oh, no, not much. So in high school, I was similar to Caleb. Junior and senior year, I was just not participatory. For those of you who know me, I barely ever spoke. Which is probably the strangest thing you could hear now because I'm a big mouth. But yeah, I graduated with a 2.41 GPA, so solid C. My senior year, I didn't even go to half of my classes. I would wake up and have nightmares because I couldn't remember which room a class was in because I hadn't gone to it. The same as Pillage.
I don't know. ADHD thing. So you never went to it. Oh, that's so funny. You're worse than me. You're really bad.
Oh yeah, it was horrible. Or I would hide out. There was this really, really cool room above the stage in our big amphitheater. So you had to climb up, some of the rigging, and there was a really cool room where you could hang out with like a sofa and stuff. Or I'd hang out in the yearbook office because I had friends who did yearbook and school newspaper. So I'd just be like, oh, fuck, I'm in the school. I'll just hang out here. I don't want to go to this class. I was a terrible student. Terrible, terrible student.
You were worse than me. I never skipped classes. Wow.
Classroom situations are the hardest place for me to learn because I have an inattentive type of ADD. So I'm not hyperactive, but I'm very inattentive.
That would be really hard for you. What I did was I never skipped a class. All my friends did because I hung out with a bunch of losers. So they did. They dropped out and, but what I would do is I had a thing about not skipping class because I said, well, the law says I got to be here, so I'll fucking be here, but I'm out of here. Anyway, so what I would do is I would get my business book, and several times this happened. I would sit in the back, as far back as I could in the back of the room. I'd pull out my algebra book or my biology book, and I put my business book in the middle, in the front, and I would read it like this, so it looks like I was reading. And then the teachers caught on because no one's going to sit there and read an algebra book like this. No one's going to do that. So at one point, I remember my algebra teacher saying, how's the book, Caleb? I said, it's great. It was like, how to start a business, da-da-da. Yeah, so that's what I did. And I would fail the class. And yeah. So anyway.
Our friend groups were different. Let me just add this. I was a business nerd from day one since I was a little kid. So I was really active in junior achievement. I went to nationals all 4 years in junior achievement. So I kicked ass and took names there. And what's even crazier is that my junior and senior year of high school, they would send myself and one other girl from my school to teach a 3-day-long business basics course at the different elementary schools in our community. So even on days where we would skip school and just literally walk out of the building, maybe an assistant principal would nab us and take us into the office. And we were skipping, there's no question. But the principal would say, oh no, these girls teach business basics. They must be going off to one of the elementary schools. Here, let me write them an excuse. So we got away with far too much. But the reality is I come from a similar academic background. My family's not as academic as Caleb, but my dad has like 6 degrees. My mom has 1, architecture and residential design. My brother has a degree in accounting. You know, I'm the loser who took 5 minutes of school. I also did some advanced placement classes in high school. So the classes I did show up to and got good grades in were advanced placement business classes, sociology, psychology, the things I was really interested in. So Caleb and I have a little different path there.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Do you make, be honest, unless you don't want to answer the question, do you make more than anyone else in your family?
Yes, significantly.
Yeah. So that's me too. So we both come from educated families. I make far more than any of my siblings. I have 5 siblings plus 2 parents. I make far more than any of these people. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not even, I mean, like you, Billy, it's not even close.
No, it's not.
Okay. So we come from families of overthinking smart people. So let's get into technique now. So I'll let you start in terms of what should our audience do if they are an overthinking nerd. And again, I call you guys names, but I say it out of love. You're an overthinking listing nerd. You overthink, and you're scared to take action. You don't take action. I have my own ideas, but I'll start with you. You start.
Well, the first thing I want to do is address something that is in the comments from Mr. Friday, saying that overthinking is a disguised version of procrastination.
Yeah.
That can be true. But procrastination is often triggered by triggered very differently and expresses itself differently. Procrastination can come from many different places. Overthinking can be part of procrastination, but there are many other root causes. And we'll get into that in another session coming up down the line, especially when we have Coach Christy join us. And she'll talk more about that. But I think it's a good point. So let's see. If you're an overthinker, the best thing you can do is either join a coaching program where you have a peer network and a coach to guide you, or a selection of coaches that guide you. Because then you take the pressure off of yourself. You don't need to come up with the final answer. These people will help you determine it. And if you're like Caleb and myself, you're pushy, and we're going to say, no, go this direction. Dumbass, that one's not going to work. You're spending too much time on this, and we'll give you tools to help you come to validate what your ideas are. So we'll get, we talk to the other people in the group. We talk to other businesses, and we understand what their problems are, essentially, right, Caleb? And that's all we do in a group is we help you identify what the problem is. All you need to do is frame the solution at that point. You know how to do that, right? People don't generally overthink solutions. They overthink getting started. So my advice is just get started, join a program. If you're somebody who prefers working on your own, file your own LLC and just get started. Start selling something. I don't care what it is, but learn.
So you're saying force yourself to take action, even if you're scared.
I really am, even if you're scared. But start with something small, for example. You don't have to. The first business you create probably isn't where your empire is going to get built. It's going to be something small, tiny.
Accurate. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the things I've learned teaching Business Builder. A lot of people come in and they feel this internal pressure that this has got to be the one. This has got to be that silver bullet that, takes down all of the challenges. And I need to really plan for every contingency. And you can't. You just can't. There are a lot of variables in starting a business like anything else. So the more time you spend thinking about it and the less spend your time doing, all you're doing is hindering yourself. So again, my solution is push yourself or surround yourself with people who will push you to take the steps, remembering that you are not empire building. You are learning a process and a new way of thinking. And that's all you have to do for your first business.
Let me piggyback on something she said. That's a really good point. And this is especially true if you're younger, but if you're not younger, because some of you guys aren't younger, some of you guys are old like me. Your first business is not likely to be the business that really sets you. I mean, your first business, you can make a lot of money. I made decent money in my first business, but your first business is probably not the business that's going to hit all of your really amazing kick-ass financial goals. My first real business as an adult was going to people's offices and fixing their computers. You think I'm making 7 figures location dependent doing that now? No, that was my first business. And I've had several iterations of that business plus new business on the side. A lot of you know my history. So be aware that if you start your business and just do it like Billy's talking about, and you make mistakes, it's okay. This is not your make or break anyway. Now, it feels like it is. When you start your first business, especially when you make a big deal out of it, you're like, oh my God, this is my Tesla. I'll be like Elon Musk. No, probably not. What's more likely to occur is that you're going to make some money doing this. And eventually at some point, you're going to pivot down the road, or either you're going to pivot and do something slightly different, which I did for years, or you're going to start something completely different, especially with AI coming and things like that. So it's okay to make these mistakes. That's a very good point. Something else is that, and one of you said this already, overthinking can be based on fear as well. Yes. So this is a mindset thing that I talk about in our coaching programs, is that when you overthink and you're using it as a fear mechanism, whatever you're afraid of, I'm scared of making a mistake. I'm scared if I pick the wrong niche. I'm scared if I start the wrong business. I'm scared if I price it incorrectly. I'm scared if I quit my job, I'll lose all my clients, have to go back to get a job again. I'm scared of this. You're not scared of that. Here's what you're actually scared of. You're scared that you can't handle it. Most of fear is based, and again, another book, it's not up there. There's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. I read this book back in the 90s. One of the best books on this topic. It's fantastic.
Agreed.
And yeah, have you read that?
Yeah, back in the 90s.
Oh, okay.
We're children of the same era.
Course, right? Yeah, I think that's when it was published. One of her core concepts, and she's absolutely right about this, is that all fear is really, you're not afraid of the thing you think you're afraid of. What you're really afraid of is this will happen and I can't handle it. So all of fear is rooted in I won't be able to handle it. So if you, and I've mentioned this technique before, if you sit down and say, if the thing that happens to you is the thing you're scared of because you didn't think through all the possibilities, because that's where you're overthinking, right? You're thinking through, well, I don't make a mistake, so I'll make sure, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? And I'll cover that in a second too. What you do is you say, okay, let's pretend that it happens. The thing you're scared about the most, you pick the wrong niche. Oh no. What is the worst that happens? Within realistic constraints. You don't say like, I'm going to go bankrupt and die homeless on the street. That's not going to happen. What's the worst that would happen realistically? Okay, I'd waste 6 months of my life and have to start a new business. Okay. So then you ask yourself the second question, could I handle that? And 99% of the time your brain goes, well, yeah. Well, what are you afraid of, fucker? Not a big deal. That's one thing. Second thing is, Dan Pena's talked about this. I've seen other online gurus talk about this. When people ask questions about what happens if this, I certainly get that over in my other brand. Well, Caleb, what if I do this and then this happens? The vast majority of these what if questions that I get, Billy, I don't know if you relate to this. I don't know if this happens to you. The vast majority of these, well, what if I get my residency in Paraguay and this, or what if I start in this and this bad thing happens? The vast majority of the questions that I get are things I've never seen happen in real life.
Mm-hmm. They're usually very imaginative.
Yes. They're crazy, weird ass things that never fucking occur in real life. You're just making this shit up.
Right. But it's easy to do. We're all stuck inside of our heads. The smarter that we are, especially in Caleb's audience, I found to be that we have an audience that tends toward introversion and tends to be very smart. Yep. And we've seen that as a consistent over the 6 years Caleb and I have been working together.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I was in fact surprised by the intelligence and I really was expecting some dumbasses. I'm not going to lie. Based on Caleb's other brand, which I'm not the biggest fan of. So yeah, I expected to be faced with a lot of dumbasses who couldn't figure it out. But instead, what I'm faced with teaching the program is guys who are overthinking and spending far more energy than they need to.
Mm-hmm. Right. I have some more techniques or observations. What else do you have, if anything, beyond
Well, let's talk about this. There are a lot of different, yeah, thanks, Dee. I don't care. Y'all do your thing. Just don't touch me. Gross. Let's see. There are other ways that overthinking manifests itself, Caleb, and I think we should talk a little bit about that. For some people, it's not choosing a tool, right? We see this all of the time in the business builder with people who are, they want to build their website. And we give them a list of tools that they, different sites that they could use to build their website. Super simple, right? You would think we give them 3 or 4 choices and say, but you can look online, do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. They struggle with those really simple choices because they're overanalyzing the features, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know about this.
So people are projecting a need far greater than what their actual need is. And a lot of people will do that with buying fancy equipment. Starting a bigger business than you need. Do you really want a business that's going to take $200,000 or $2 million or $20 million to get off of the ground? Of course not. That's silly. No. Unless you are independently wealthy and you just like playing with money, then just send it to me and that'll be fine. But at the end of the day, you don't need to start a business that requires much overhead at all. My first business, and Caleb the same. Our first business is started for hundreds of dollars, if even that.
Yeah. And you want your first business to be cheap. Your first several businesses to be cheap. You want them to be cheap. Why do you want to expose yourself? Why would you spend a hunk of money when you've never started a business in your life? Now, Billie and I, because we've been successful business people for decades. So Billie and I could take $100,000, $500,000 or whatever and start a company that is capital intensive and probably make that work. We have experience doing this. Why on earth would you want to add the layer of risk and complexity in your first business when you're a newbie and spend a big mountain of money? Yeah, I've seen a few guys. You're right. I know you're talking about this. I've seen a few guys want to do this. Even $50,000. Why would you want to do this? You know what the fuck you're doing. Start something cheap. And I've said this 10,000 times. This business right here, Unchained CEO, which is an outgrowth of Alpha Male 2.0, which is an outgrowth of Black Dragon. I started this business for $29. And I didn't spend one penny on ads in this business until I was already making 6 figures from this business. You don't need to spend money. And so when you know you're not spending a lot of money, it reduces your emotion of risk. Oh no. Okay, fine. The only thing I have to waste now is my time. And let me speak to that really quick. When I said earlier, well, if I choose the wrong niche or I start the wrong business or I don't do something right, I waste 6 months. Okay, here's the deal. You didn't waste 6 months. No. I talked about this too in our program. You didn't waste 6 months. You learned a lot in that 6 months. You didn't waste it. You learned a lot about yourself. You learned a lot about the niche you're working with. You learned a lot about a business and what works and what doesn't. You didn't waste those 6 months. Just because 6 months went by and you made $0 doesn't mean you wasted it. That means you're now 6 months closer to the money. You didn't waste anything. You learned a lot probably in that 6 month period. So it wasn't going to waste.
You've probably gotten some new people in your network. You've probably learned to use 1 or 2 new tools. And you probably already sort of have some kind of a structure set up, right? So all you need to do is pivot, use that template that you already have created, and plug in a new business model. And I know that sounds really simplistic, but at the end of the day, it really is that easy.
Really quick, Madera, you're telling me that some of the links don't work for the residency programs. Could you paste the link in the chat of what doesn't work? They should be working perfectly. I just verified them a few hours ago. So will you paste the chat what link you say doesn't work? And I will make sure it works because they should all be working fine. www.caleb.top/go. Matter of fact, let's pause and talk about that really quick, Billie.
Sure, Caleb.
Let's talk about Founder Sanctum first. So I already mentioned, I'll let Billie take this over, but I already mentioned that Founder Sanctum is now under Billie's domain because she's much better at coaching and developing coaching systems than I am. And I didn't know this earlier. Founder Sanctum is cheaper than when I was doing it last year. And it's the same. Here's the thing. I'll let Billie take over for this really quick. Founder Sanctum is cheaper and you get more than when I was doing it.
That's right. Let me just put on my TV show announcer mask.
Okay, perfect.
That's right, Caleb. The new and improved Focus program includes all of the coaches at Boss Cooperative. That's right, boys and girls. Matt Samp, our marketing expert. Matt Montgomery, who is our sales expert, as well as Jan Garif. Me, Billie Olds. You'll have Christy Lake, who teaches mindfulness.
Very good.
Cliff, who's our tech and website guy.
Awesome. Cliff is awesome.
Who is Hansa, who is a pro
Hansa's awesome.
in even the most unlikely businesses turn into location independence. That's right, guys. We have a huge cast of coaches, and they will be rotating through the focus program. So you'll have at
Founder
least
Sanctum.
Founder Sanctum. Yep, that's right. Sorry.
We have
you'll have
programs.
At least one of the coaches, often 2 or more, joining with Founder Sanctum every week. There are 2 meetings a week, Tuesday mornings, Thursday nights. All of the details and the registration can be found at bosscooperative.com. bosscooperative.com.
Type that when you get a minute. Type that into the chat. You see the chat there? You should type that in the chat.
Yeah.
We'll put
so that was the
comments.
best I could do as like a infomercial.
That's pretty
person,
good. It's pretty good. Like game show host, pretty good.
It's going to be pretty fun because we all want to be involved, and the coaches have been kicking my ass to get this going since Caleb kind of gifted it to us.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of guys signed up, and our first session starts tomorrow.
The way it works, if you didn't know, Founder Sanctum is you get 2 live coaching sessions. It's a small group. It's a group coaching thing with location-independent business owners, all of them. They're all location-independent business owners. They're the real deal, including Billy. And Billy ain't cheap, and she's in these things. And it's you basically ask them whatever you want, and they just work with you on whatever project or whatever business you're working on. And it is way cheaper than Business Builder, like by far. It's not even the same ballpark. And it's a monthly fee. You can cancel whenever you want. I think is it $147 a month?
$147 right? a month. That's right.
Okay. Let me explain this to you guys. Okay. I want you to understand this. $147 a month for 8 one-hour sessions with a location-independent business coach. Do you understand how cheap that is? Do you understand why I'm not even doing this? That's fucking cheap as fuck. Business Builder is several $1,000s. Okay. Mm-hmm. Founder Sanctum is $150 a month. Who can't afford $150 a month? And it's tax deductible, and it helps you start your own business. And by the way, Founder Sanctum is for if you already have a business or if you want to start a business, right, Billy? Correct? Is that right?
That's right. And we're also going to be releasing some programs. Some of you might, and Caleb, you're going to roll your eyes and gag a little bit when I say this. Not everyone needs to own their own business. Sometimes your business can be you acting as a freelancer.
Oh, well, that's like your own business. It's close enough.
So it is like your own business, but you are working for other people. So we're also going to be starting a program called Freelance Flight Path. That'll start next month. And that's for those of you who want an intermediary step or to start a really easy first business.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
That is to set yourself up as a freelancer and learn how to get contracts. And then if you're ready, you can move on to the next step, which is building your own complete, a fleshed out business where you add more staff, more services, etc. But that's another thing that will be coming up because we know that sometimes making the leap from working from someone else to working for yourself can be frightening. So we help you set it up as a side hustle so you can then take the baby steps.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. What residency service do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Paraguay? Well, now, wait a minute. Can Americans still do it, or have Americans bypassed the deadline?
Americans have to commit by the end of this month.
Now, wait a second. Before you say
that's a lie. By the end of next week. So that
even that. So you guys ignore me and Billy. We're going to have a little chat for a second. Are we 100% sure about that in terms of getting in their apostilles and shit? If they sign up Saturday?
Yeah. Billy's 100% sure. I've been handling it.
That's cool.
Well, if we can get this, if you are American only, this only applies to Americans.
Right.
You need to call me, schedule a call with me, email blackdragon.com, get a hold of us. The best way is going to be through Boss Cooperative or through caleb.top.go. for our event pages where you can book time with me to discuss it and to pay your, to enroll.
You have a link. You have a link at Boss Cooperative as well, correct?
We have a Boss.
Paraguay?
Yeah. So Boss Cooperative we have our own events, but we also have most of Caleb's events on our page. So anything that I'm involved with or our team are involved with, we have links that will go directly to Caleb's page.
Cool.
So, but they are on our page as well. So you have information both places.
Oh, so if you're listening to the podcast, bosscooperative.com, or for the Paraguay thing, www.caleb.top/go, and you click Paraguay. So let me make this clear so you guys understand this. If you are in any country, you can sign up for the Paraguay Platinum service where Billie and I are in Paraguay. We'll be down there in July, right?
July 15th.
Is that right?
I'll be there the 15th through the 28th this year.
What is the dates of the event? Is around the same that? It's like
it is those dates, 15th through the 26th.
Okay.
If you're doing the residency, if you are doing the just get to know Paraguay, it's a little bit shorter. It's the 15th through the 21st, I believe.
Right. We'll address that too. Okay. So you are.
Let me just jump back in and say that if you're American, you need to decide whether you want to do this by the 21st. That is next week, Sunday. I need your firm commitment, and we'll need to start getting your documents together.
Right.
If you are from any other country around the globe, it is a lot quicker. You will have until May 15th. So the sooner you can get started, the better, because then I can set up more cool events. But if you're from anywhere else in the world, we can get your documents far more easily. And that registration has to be in by the 15th of next month.
Right. So you go to either one of those links, bosscooperative.com or www.caleb.top/go. There's a link there on the Paraguay page to schedule a call. You'll get Billie. You'll get her because she's the expert on this. She knows some things about Paraguay residency I don't. You'll get her, get all your questions answered, get signed up. You can make payments in most cases, depending what country you're from, because we're dealing with banks. So if you can't afford the entire thing, you can make payments, especially if you're from the United States or Canada. Okay. And possibly some other countries.
There's a cool feature with that. I think you should discuss, Caleb, because I didn't know this.
What?
And that's that you can make your first 2 payments and then we'll start process. So you don't even have to pay for the whole thing on a payment plan before you go down. Once you make your first 2 payments, your business auntie will get your documents processed.
Right. So as soon as you make your first 2 payments, you're locked in. You can get your residency while still making payments. And let me say this. I've said this a lot. I love saying this because it makes me sound awesome. It makes us sound awesome. This is how you have unique selling, your USP, unique selling proposition. We are the only company in the entire world. I mean this. We are the only full service residency company, not legal firm where you have to do a lot of the work yourself. Where you literally do nothing, or not. I mean, there's a few paperwork.
Very little.
Okay, very little. We do everything else for you, and you can make payments. There is no other company in the entire planet Earth, anywhere on the earth, where you get residency in these countries and make payments. You go to any other company, including Nomad Capitalist, who is a friend of mine, including a legal firm you can find in Paraguay, who will let you do payments. You say, "Can I make payments?" They will laugh at you and kick you out of their office. We are the only ones, period. Okay? So, but what Billie said is critical. Let me repeat that so you understand this. If you're an American and you want to join us in Paraguay and get your residency in Paraguay and get that done, your deadline is the end of this week. We keep extending that deadline, and I get nervous every time we do it because I want to make sure your documents are there. If you're not an American, you have a little more time, but we still need to get a head count ASAP. So go to bosscooperative.com or www.caleb.top/go. Schedule a call with Billie. Even if you're not sure you want to do it now, you can also do the signature service, which is not the platinum service, where you go down whenever you want, but we won't be there with you. We will support you remotely. And you can do that anytime you want if you can't make it in July. If you want to come with us in July, you can do that. Now, next thing is, if you don't want residency, but you want to come with, go ahead. You want to say something?
I was just going to say there are a couple of guys that have made comments that the link to schedule a call with me on your residency page is not working.
What? Who said that?
It was in the Travis. I mentioned that in the chat.
You guys keep saying these links don't work, and then I go there and they work perfectly. So let's find this out. Hang on, really quick.
Okay.
It's happened at least twice. Hey, the link does work, and I tried it. It works perfectly. They go, oh, it works. Never mind. So hang on. Usually that's the problem on their end.
There's something that was. It looks like I don't know how to say your screen name, so I'm not going to try. Who says that 5 licks is only possible if you make at least 6 figures across at least 4 sources. And I would agree that for Five Flags, you do need to have a good base. However, I'm not a Five Flags person. I'm just getting residency I'm definitely getting Uruguay and probably Paraguay this year as well. And the reason for that is when things go to hell, I want a bug out location. And I believe that America is just fucking horrible. I'm so sorry to those people who don't feel that way, but it's a nightmare for me. I found out that I really love Paraguay. I had no intention of ever getting residency anywhere else. But having had the experience, I am going to. And there are people from many different walks of life who have done residency with us. Because it gives you an option to live somewhere that is really inexpensive, warm, tropical, beautiful. It also gives you a place to bug out that's pretty damn safe because no one's going to care about Paraguay. It's landlocked with no resources that are exploitable. So yeah, there are many different reasons to get residency. It doesn't have to be because you're into Five Flags. It can just be that you want to deploy funds in a different country, or that you want to spend 6 months a year in a different country.
What I was talking about go ahead, sorry.
No, good.
What I'm saying about when I said Five Flags as I define it is that just getting residency in 2 countries might be impossible in 10 years. It might. Or very expensive, or you have to live there for 3 years. Five Flags, any aspect of international lifestyle is the easiest it'll ever be right now today. If you wait a year, 2 years, I think the same guy said, I got to take baby steps. You take baby steps. If you take your time on this, odds are you won't be able to do what you want. Billy, they're actually right. Your Calendly link is not working. The one that you set up, you deleted or changed the name. Yeah, it's on your end. It's your link. So
weird.
So why don't you base camp me? Do you have a Calendly link ready to go handy? Your main link? If you do, you can put it in the chat right now.
Oh, yeah, it's the same as yours, Caleb, except with my name.
30 minutes with Billy Olds. No, it's not.
Hold on.
I don't want to say it because I don't want to give people the wrong link. So do this.
I can't join the chat because I'm not signed into a YouTube account. So I will put it in the private chat.
Put it in the private chat and I'll copy it. Yeah, put it in the private chat right here in StreamYard. Yeah. And then I will, what we will do by the time you guys hear this on the podcast or the YouTube video, it'll be fixed. We apologize. Sorry about that. Cool. Okay. I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Yeah, that is different. Okay. Hang on.
Oh, okay. Well,
the website works, but the link is not working. Sorry about that. We have been changing a lot of shit around lately. Okay. It's www.cal. If you're listening to this, www.calendly.com/Billy Olds, OLDS. Actually, you know what? Now I'm paranoid. Let me try that. Calendly.com, calendly.com/Billy Olds.
The pressure is intense.
Yeah, it just, you have a menu, you got to say get residency informational call. And then
it's the only way it's the only way that people can talk to me for free too.
That's right. Correct.
Is to talk about residency.
So we will fix that as soon as the end of this live stream. That'll just take a minute. But those are your deadlines. Now, really fast. If you don't want to get residency, but you want to hang out with us and do all the events down there in Paraguay, we have a Get to Know Paraguay service, which we've actually improved since last year. Yeah. And that is where you're hanging out with us. You're doing all the events with us, Billy, myself, and all the other people down there. But you don't need to get residency, and it's way cheaper. You want to talk about that?
Sure. It's exactly what Caleb said. It is much less expensive, but you're going to stay in the same apartment building that we stay in. A lot of the time is our own, so we'll do some adventuring. The group gets to choose from a couple of different outing locations. Yeah, we basically make a fun time of it and spend as much time.
About a week in a
sense.
It's
about a week. It's just less than a week. Yep. But you can get into the groove. The apartments that we rent are about 4 blocks from a very nice supermarket. Yep. The same distance from a mall and a park that even has some like really cool exercise equipment in it. Yep. Via Mora.
Oh, is that what it's called? Via?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're right. It's Via Mora.
So
you don't see the
yeah,
L's.
it's a great neighborhood. There's a lot to do there. There's great nightlife for those people who are into that. There's a lot of, nature and history for geeks like me. It's just a really good place to be. And I think I didn't know what to expect. I think I was one of those really stupid, naive people who's like, oh, South America, it's all like Mexico, right? No.
Nope.
No.
But I like
I'm
Mexico
the dumbest person, but I know so many people who think the same thing. The food is not the same. The weather is not the same. The flora and fauna are not the same. The people are absolutely not the same.
No, very different people.
What most people don't understand is that Paraguay has two special things going on. Number one is that they actually encouraged the colonizers to breed with the local women, which was not typically the case. Usually they'd import women from their location and, colonize that way. They intermingled with the local Guarani people. So it gives them a very different look. And they're lovely. The women are gorgeous. The men are very short. So not my vibe, but they're still nice looking, I guess.
And the women, to be fair, the women aren't gorgeous. They're cute.
They're cute. Yeah.
They're cute. The gorgeous women are in like Colombia and Venezuela, some Brazil.
Where they have more of a culture of plastic surgeries and Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil subsidize a lot of those surgeries. So but the other thing, that's what makes Paraguay so special, is that when I go down there with a group of people, I'm like, a plump ginger. They don't see many people who look like me. Nope. They don't see many gringo-y people. There just aren't a lot of white people. There aren't a lot of black people. There aren't a lot of Asian people. So when we go down as a group, people think we're some kind of celebrities going on tour. In fact, we had that happen with Kevin, whom you know, Caleb. He's a really great guy in our audience, very nerdy, totally love him. He went to sing karaoke and people asked he and the rest of the group if they were American band on tour. And people will stop in the street and stare at you and try to have conversations. It is unlike any place you have visited.
Right. It's awesome.
So I could talk about that for years, guys. But yes, if that's something you want to talk about, if
one person has asked,
programs,
should they schedule it real quick? Should they schedule a call if they want to do the get to know program?
Yeah, Rob, do that. Absolutely.
Okay. We should probably just set up a button too for that because then you don't necessarily need to schedule a call. If you know you want to come down there, do you need to schedule a call? Should we set up a button on that page? I think we should.
I think we should. That would be easier.
Yeah, okay. We'll add a button.
Wait to talk to me if you know.
Right. If you definitely want to go down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, really quick, and we'll get back to the top. Actually, we'll get to your questions. We're also doing piggybacking on the Paraguay trip when Billy is there. I'm going to be there for several months. We're also doing an Uruguay event. There's no link for that yet, but we actually have dates now. Actually, you got my plane tickets. We're good on dates. We got the plane tickets set up.
Yeah, it's July 28th through August 1st.
Thank you. Okay, July 28th through August 1st. If you're down in Paraguay, or you're not down in Paraguay, but you're down in South America anyway, and you want to join us in Montevideo, Uruguay, which is our next flag we're working on, you can come with us. We have a whole little event planned. It's about a 3-day event? 3 or 4? 3.
It's going to be 3 because I need a day to meet with legal.
Okay, fine. So now here's the thing about Uruguay, and we don't have a lot of details on this yet. Details are coming probably in the next week. I have one big thing I have to do on my other brand this week about a new book, wink, wink, and a new course. But next week, the way that Uruguay works is Uruguay is basically like Paraguay, but not as rough. It's a more mid-range standard country with all the standard amenities and a normal city and a beach and, crap they call it Switzerland in South America. What's that?
It's definitely more Europeanized.
Some of
the expat communities there are much larger, but there are expat communities of various types in Paraguay as well.
Right. And Doug Casey, you guys know him. That's where he hangs out, is Uruguay. So Uruguay is, for those of you who are really interested in this, I've spoken to some of you. I think you might have too, Billy, where you're interested in Paraguay, but Paraguay is just a little too rough for you. Uruguay is what you want. Uruguay, eliminates that one negative of Paraguay. Other than that, it has all the positives without that one negative. And it has a beach. If you're big on that, there's a beach there. There's no beach in Paraguay. There's water in Paraguay.
There's water. There's a river. There are some beautiful expat communities on the river. Great opportunities in either country. But Uruguay, the reason Uruguay is so popular is because of the ocean's frontage that they have.
Yes. And it's not crazy insane like Argentina. It doesn't have all the crazy currency problems of Argentina. They're much more even keel. They're much more steady. They're much more rational in Uruguay. Uruguay is probably Paraguay too. Uruguay, Paraguay, they both in Uruguay are probably the two most long-term stable countries in South America. Probably, actually, Ecuador is not bad, although Ecuador just had assassination, so I can't say Ecuador.
Right.
So yeah,
Ecuador and it had riots around the time I was supposed to be there.
Oh, okay. So not Ecuador. Or I was going to say maybe Ecuador, but I know I'm wrong. So there you go. I mean, Chile is pretty good too. Chile is not as good of a flag as those two countries, or else we'd be focused on Chile. But anyway, so there you go.
So there's a couple of quick questions in the chat. First of all,
let's do questions in the chat. You have questions? Let's go for it. We'll do that for the next few minutes. Go ahead.
Is there an affiliate or referral program for the Paraguay residency?
There is nothing official. If you want to contact me and work out a deal, I have a deal going with at least 2 guys who are doing this unofficially, then yes, I can talk to you. But here's the thing. I'm not going to talk to you unless you're serious about this. You want to devote 10 hours a week plus to this to market this program and get paid a commission? Yes. If you're just like, well, maybe I might want to sell this if I know someone, then no. If you're serious, you can email me at theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. And we can talk maybe.
Yeah. So now, if you're thinking of bringing your family or a partner or a buddy, you're going to talk to me and I'll work out a small discount for you.
Yeah, you get discount. Yep. And the more people you bring, the bigger the discount is, especially if they're younger. Yeah, because we have people who are like families and stuff. Yeah. All right, I'm going to scroll up for questions I didn't get to earlier. And if you have any questions, now's the time for both myself and Billy. This is one of the rare times you'll have instant access to 2 high-income, location-dependent business owners. Hang on a second.
Well, you look. I'm going to read this bottom question from Macro Model.
Go ahead.
He asks, when I'm consulting, if I don't know how long it will take to solve the client's problem, such as complex technical stuff, how do I determine what size package to sell them? Awesome question. Awesome. My packages are a little different than the average. So you can just book X number of coaching sessions with me. You can come on an intensive with me, whatever makes you happy. But if you want me to jump in and help you with your business, the way I have with Caleb's business, I write an agreement that basically says, this is a scope of work. These are the deliverables. This is what we want to accomplish. This is what I need from you. And the first month of my contract is the exploratory period where I'm doing a lot of deep digging into the company, talking to a lot of the players in the company to understand what's happening, what's wrong, what we can improve. That first month is non-refundable, and that's usually a higher price. So let's say that's $10,000. Mm-hmm. The second month and the months going forward are going to be the implementation phase, where we sit next to you and train your staff or, get everything rolling. That is an ongoing monthly package that they can stop at any time, and they'll get a prorated refund. So if they want to stop in the middle of the month, I'll give them half of that month's fee back. We walk away from each other, no hard feelings. Because there are a lot of projects that are open-ended, and you can't tell what it's going to be. There are too many variables. So that gives us a really safe option for both myself and the client to know that we can step away from this at some point and it's not going to go on forever. And that we can keep their budget in mind too. This is a way, if you have a more limited budget, that we can implement certain things and then you take the rest on your own. So I structure it in that very open way. Caleb, what's your answer? If you're more cut-and-dried than I am, but you don't implement.
Well, so you do. I don't do open-ended services like you do. You're more of you're a consulting / service. When I'm doing retainer stuff, I'm doing purely consulting, so I can be a little more strict.
Yeah.
So what I do
is tell you what to do, maybe some of the how to do it.
Right.
What I do is I do it with you, or
you
for
implement it. You're an implementer, right?
So I'm an implementer. Our jobs, our roles within our companies and within each other's world purview are slightly different.
Yeah, you're an implementer and I'm an advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're an advisor, this is what I do. If I do retainer, monthly retainer, very similar to Billy said, there's an upfront thing, which is a project, and then it becomes a retainer. And then it's just due on the first of the month. I don't sign contracts, long-term contracts normally. It's just, this is what you'll pay every month. You could leave it. You can leave whatever you want. But when you leave, you should do it at the last date of the month. Because it's due on the first of the month or the 15th of the month. And so we just based on that cycle. I don't do refunds if you do halfway in the month and I don't do any of that stuff. But I say you can stop this whenever you want, but just let me know. And why don't you make sure, let's plan on stopping it before the first day of the next billing cycle. I've never had a big problem with that. But then that's me as an advisor. Billy's an implementer, so it depends what kind of service you want to offer. If you're going to do it with them or do it for them, you're more of an implementer role. You might need more flexibility, like kind of what Billy does. So there's no right or wrong way to do it, depending on what you're doing.
Nope. Do what works for you. And you can always try multiple things too. Even with the same client, you can offer 2 different variations. Find out what works for them. Find out what works for you. Or give different contracts to different clients to find out what works.
Right.
So a version of A/B split testing.
Yeah. Other question at the top. So, hi, Caleb. Western world is in decline. Elites in charge. Isn't this heavily influenced by Russian propaganda? If not, the core of their misinfo strategy was to get that you pay more in tax to the West. Okay, that's a big narrative. That is one of many small factors. No, George W. Bush didn't print up trillions upon trillions of dollars because of Russian misinformation, which is one of the reasons America's collapsing. So that's a little factor. It's not one of the biggest factors. It's not a zero factor, but no. I think that's overplayed. Oh, it's the Russians. Aspects, sure. Next question. What do you think of OJ? He seems like he escaped karma.
No, he did not. Think? Freaking scumbag. Glad he's gone.
So here's the thing. You need to read chapter 2 of The Unchained Man, where I talk about the guy that, quote, gets away with it. And there's been some stories that have come out since. I mean, people have talked about this who knew him. He was fucking miserable. Imagine if you were OJ. Yeah, you're wealthy, but everyone hates you. And everyone thinks you're a murderer. No one trusts you. He was miserable. He wasn't happy. So the guy that, quote, gets away with it is not what I said is in that book. Do you think someone like, we could name 27 different people who you think got away with it when they're alone in their own room and they're staring at the mirror or the wall? Are these happy people? No, he's a fucking murderer. So no, he didn't get away with it. He did not skip karma. He didn't go to prison.
Well, he didn't get raped in prison like he probably should have many, many times. So yeah, he did escape karma.
He escaped that.
He felt bad. Oh, fucking big deal. He escaped karma in my mind.
I don't think he did because he's not happy. He didn't escape. He didn't get away with it in that his life was fine. His life's not fine. Plus, I know a lot of miserable rich people. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of happy rich people too. There's a difference. Let's see here. In Japan, 9 years can apply for citizenship, but must renounce the Australian one. Does Japan actually enforce that? The vast majority of countries that say they do don't. Do your research. Both countries are collapsing, but Japan offers a better lifestyle. Would you switch citizenship from Australia to Japan? I would never give up a citizenship. With the exception of America, because they charge me tax even if I don't live there. Other than that, I wouldn't give it up. You need to do some research on whether or not Japan actually enforces dual citizenship. I don't think they do. What's your opinion on Rich's Cooper unplugged alpha criterion point about the golden ratio for male bodies? Wrong channel to ask me that question. Ask me that on Wednesday. Let's see here. I understand that Iran really telegraphed their targets ahead of time. They wanted to show they were not submissive, but didn't want escalation from Israel. I don't know if that's true. If they telegraphed their targets, you got to show me their links. But outside of that was one of my points I made. They did it because they felt they have to. They didn't have to. They're stupid. But right, if they could have done much worse things, and they didn't want to because they're not suicidal. Right, to my point earlier. Right. Will a first business be the one to get me out of the collapsing West? Yes. Yes. If you make a few $1,000s a month location dependent, and Bill, you can comment on this. If you start your own location dependent business and you get that to make a few $1,000s a month location dependent, that's all you need to get the hell out of wherever you want to live. Yes. What I said is, I was very careful what I said. I didn't say your first business won't make you any money. My first business made plenty of money. Mm-hmm. What I said is, these big grandiose goals that you have, that's what Billy was talking about earlier. Whatever your big grandiose long-term goals are, your first business is probably not the one to hit that. It'll probably be an iteration of your first business or a second or third business you start down the road. But yes, you can I've seen it. People who start a business. I've known many people who do this. They have a 9-to-5 job they hate. They start a business on the side. They get to a few thousand a month. That's all they need. They quit their fucking job and they go to Costa Rica. Yeah.
Yeah. And it really, depending on what if you feel like you need a new fancy car every 2 years, then yeah, you're going to need to make more regardless of where you live.
Right, exactly.
For example, in Paraguay, we stay in literally the nicest neighborhood in the entire country.
Yep.
We eat at the finest restaurants in the country because I'm a food snob, so we're going to go all out. And it costs less than going to a halfway decent meal here. You can get like a super fine steak dinner with wine for $40 a person. The average income of a Paraguayan person is $500 per month. $500 per month is what these people are able to subsist on.
Yeah.
Not everyone, of course, but that is their national average. So you can live very comfortably there on an income of like $1,200, $1,500 American dollars per month. You don't have to be rich. You just have to be, willing to live in a different location to save money. It's really that easy. Go to a place where property values are lower, where expenses are lower. And it's amazing how little money you actually need. And it's an easier way of giving yourself permission to strike out on your own with a business as well, because your overheads for your own living expenses are reduced dramatically.
I have, I'll call them friends in Paraguay, and their typical jobs, they make about it's in Guaranis. That's their currency down there. To give you some real examples of what Billy was talking about in terms of Paraguay being cheap. And Paraguay's the only cheap country. Armenia is very cheap. Mexico's much cheaper than the U.S.
Mexico is twice as expensive easily as Paraguay. I was so surprised when I was there.
Yes.
I kept feeling like, oh my God, why is it so much in Paraguay? It was only $12.
You're spoiled. Yeah. But it's still cheaper than the U.S. And even things in here in Dubai, I'm getting one on Thursday. I can get an hour-and-a-half massage where they come to your house for like $42 US. So aspects of even Dubai are cheaper. But anyway, my friends in Paraguay, when they have full-time 40-hour-a-week jobs, like working at hotels, stressful jobs, they make 3 million. This is so funny. It's 3 million guaranis. That's their currency. I just did the conversion. That's $405 a month US. That's a full-time job, an office job. That's a full-time white-collar job in Paraguay. 3 million guaranis, because I know what they make. It's 3 million guaranis, $405 a month they live on. That's how cheap these countries are. Mm-hmm. So that's why I said a few thousand a month is all most of you will need, unless you have a family or you live high on the hog. And if you live high on the hog, then you make a little more. Fine. So,
but it reduces some of the pressure. So it's something to think about, guys.
I'm gonna bring a.
I like that one a lot.
You see that one? You want to answer that?
I do. Let me just read it. Spacetime asks, I've mentioned overthinking, ADHD, and autism, but what if our issue is social anxiety and we dread making calls, speaking to people, or bothering them? Is there a technique to make ourselves do it? The answer is yes, because that is the bane of my fucking existence. I do not like talking to strangers. I see, like in this context, I'm talking to my friend Caleb. You guys are just here and we're answering your questions. But really, I'm talking to my buddy. He's someone I know. We know a lot about each other. He's not a stranger. And I also know that you guys want to listen to the topics. So it's very easy for me to speak to you. But if you ask me to go into a bar, a networking event, and go talk to strangers, it's not going to fucking happen. Auntie Billy's going to go home and hide because I have massive social anxiety. Massive. Unless I'm speaking at you, which is very different construct. So there are a few things that you can do to help teach yourself to pick up the phone. The first is literally to join Toastmasters or a similar organization where you are doing a little bit of, you learn to speak publicly to a small group of people who support you. And that's what it's all about. So that for many people, Toastmasters or any kind of similar group is going to be a monumental step for you. You learn how to speak, you listen to others speak, you help one another. That's it. What I do is actually back in the olden days, I worked in a call center for a while for an insurance company because I wanted to see what it was like having to deal with strangers all the time. So you can put yourself in a position where you're freelancing and perhaps doing outbound or inbound calls for someone else. So you can learn and have them just pay for it. That's my favorite method. The other thing, again, it comes back to coaching. Join a coaching program, find a one-on-one coach, find a group of people who speaks your language and has those same issues, and you work on it together. So this is something that happens tremendously often in the business builder, because a part of the business builder is you find your niche, but then you need to reach out to businesses or individuals in that niche and decide what are their needs, what are their problems. And that's where most people get stuck. So we've actually brought in a very, very talented French sales coach who helps our people. So every Saturday after the business builder, whoever wants to can jump on a call with Jan, or whoever in the program wants to can jump on a call with Jan. And he does minimum of an hour or two every single week, helping people write scripts, overcome objections, and just make it easier to pick that phone up.
Phone sales and phone research.
Yeah. My favorite technique, though, is outsourcing. I learned how to do it. I had someone pay me to learn, realized I hated it more than anything. I hate it more than spiders. It's not bad.
That's such a girl statement.
It is. Like, I'm not afraid of things. You all have to understand. I'm not afraid of snakes and bugs. I don't like spiders, but I hate having to make outbound calls even more. So I hire people to do that for me. So that's really how I learned to treat myself, is that as soon as I could add the finances to delegate that to someone else, I did. But it's important to make some calls because you have to learn what people's problems and challenges are and learn the questions to ask. So even if you aren't going to be the person making those calls later on, you still need to train that person who's coming in to replace you what the questions are to ask and what you've noticed as patterns emerging and the feedback you've gotten. So put yourself out there, find a group. I absolutely advocate for finding a group or finding some coaching for that, because it's going to help
any group or any coaching. If you can't do business builder or something else, or worst case, hire a coach or something. Your odds of success go up when it's not just you, and that's empirical.
And that's another program that Boss is launching, a sales program at sales and a marketing program as well, 2 separate things. But those aren't going to be ready for at least another month. Yeah. But there are other companies who offer it. Do something. Put yourself outside of your comfort zone and start talking.
Next question. What should our financial situation be in order to get going on residency? Should we have our business started and have an 8-month fund before we start 5 flags? No. I was answering a very different question. Don't get this confused. Here is the bottom line for residencies. This is for anyone listening to the sound of my voice. You ready? This is it. If you plan on setting up an international backup plan ever in your life, or moving out of your country ever in your life, I don't care if it's 10 years down the road, you get going on residencies right the fuck now. Right? Even if you have a 9-to-5 job, you have no money in savings, if that is part of your long-term vision and plan for your life, or midterm plan, you get going on it now. I'll say it again. Every year this gets harder. Billie and I have no idea how much longer the Paraguay residency will be available to normal humans. I mentioned this earlier. In 2018, when I started going down, before I started going, I've been to Paraguay before then. But in 2018, I was pursuing Paraguay passport, because you could get residency, and as soon as you got residency, you could just get a passport. And they canceled it. Yes, they canceled it because too many people were doing it. So every year, this gets harder, with rare exceptions.
I experienced that firsthand. We landed in Paraguay last year for the July trip, the second trip down. And the day after we landed, the government changed the laws.
We ran into that last year. It was a fucking nightmare.
It was a nightmare, and people were pissed. We got things done.
Yep.
We were able to manage everything, and we pulled out all the stops to get it done, and people were pissed at us, but we had no control over what a foreign government does. We're just riding the wave with you.
Yeah. The day after we all landed, they changed the law and changed the paperwork requirements. And I'm like, oh, great. This stuff gets harder every year. If you plan on doing Paraguay or Mexico or Armenia or Dubai or later Uruguay or whatever, or anything else that we don't offer, you need to start on it right now, because it is entirely possible Paraguay residency won't be available at all, or won't be available the way we talk about it. It could very easily be, in 2 years or 3 years or less, Paraguay says you need to make $100,000 a year. You got to prove it to get residency here, or you don't get residency at all. You have to move to Paraguay and live there for a year, and then we'll give it to you. This is entirely possible for all these places. So don't wait.
Let me just add that fairly recently changed for Mexico too.
Yes, it did. They raised their income requirement.
You have to make something like, it's right around $90,000 per year. And you have to have proof of that income, or you have to have a similar number.
No, it's $5,000
a month, or $90,000.
But it used to be $2,000 a month. It used to be $2,000 a month. Now it's $5,000. Yep.
Exactly, and that's for temporary residency. If you want permanent residency, it's like $7,500 a month.
Right. So I mean, don't wait, guys.
It keep bumping up.
Yeah. Do not wait. Get this done now. I say this over and over again, and I still get these questions. Well, should I wait 2 years? No. Get it done now, because you won't be able to do it in 2 years. Yeah, so you don't wait to start your own business and have money in savings and get all your little ducks in a row and then try to get residency. You'll be fucked, or you might be fucked. You don't know. Or maybe it's available, but it's triple the price.
Yeah,
it's a few $1,000s if you hire us to do it, but it could be way more expensive in 2 years if you wait. Don't wait.
Yeah, this is not hyperbole. Caleb's not blowing smoke. We've seen it happen twice now with both Mexico's requirements and the Paraguayan requirements just within the last few months in Mexico's case.
Right. Is it difficult to get residency in Colombia? It's not difficult, but you got to buy a house or buy a condo. My understanding is you have to spend at least $160,000 US, and you can't borrow the money. So I would say that's super easy. Can you do that? You have $160,000 laying around. You can buy a condo in Colombia, get residency. Yeah. So it's not no. Now there are ways you can go to Colombia and use it as a flag. There are ways to do it without residency, but that gets complicated. But no. Billy, I'm going to pull another question up for you. Do you see that?
Oh, we already answered that one, Caleb.
Oh, we did? Great. Oh, that's right. You did. Sorry. What service where you have a bot trade Bitcoin for you? We talked about that last year. You did a joint venture with a guy who provides the service. Do you still use it? Where to find it? Yes, I use it. I don't have links in front of me. Email us at theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com and we'll give you those links. Matter of fact, I should talk to them again to do another JV, because now that people like Bitcoin again. General tips on making your service more appealing to high earners, e.g. a $5,000 5-hour workshop. You can answer this if you want, Billy, but my thing is this, is that the value you add is something that would appeal to high income earners. So you would say in your copy, are you a self-employed business owner who makes at least 7 figures a year or whatever? You say that first. So you identify what they call the avatar. You say that first, and then you put in your items. In this workshop, you will learn how to take your existing business where you make $500,000 and double it to. You just calibrate your offering to the niche. And if your niche is high income earners, then you calibrate to that. I knew a guy years ago. This guy made $3 million a year, and this was like 20 years ago, and that was real. I mean, that was hard. That was today. There are plenty of people who make $3 million a year, but back 20 years ago, that was a big deal. And what he did is he was an investment planner, and he worked only with high net worth senior citizens. So what he would do, his company would do, he's the owner of the business. He would put on events for senior citizens, and it was like 1940s, because that's when senior citizens, and 50s and 40s, like mostly 40s. So they bring in like 1940s music and 1940s posters, and you dress up like the 1940s. And it was like a little ball for these 70 and 80-year-olds who grew up in the 1940s. And he completely calibrated it toward his target. And he was probably 40 at the time. He didn't know anything about that. So he calibrated it all toward the niche. So that's the answer. You just calibrate it toward the niche.
Right. Make sure that if you're going after high earners, you're going to maybe do seminars on why investing in your own jet or airplane or helicopter make fiscal sense to your business. It's not going to be how do you hire your first 2 people, right?
Right.
So just curate your subject matter. Absolutely.
Right.
I am not a big person. Like I would never charge $5,000 for 5 hours. I don't believe in raping people that way, because I don't think you can bring enough value. But if you can justify bringing enough value, you can go for it, man. But that's why you'll see that the Boss cooperative events are much cheaper than Caleb's events, because we are wired very differently. And what we get out of this is very different.
I'm trying to sell internet radio stations to huge clothing and soda companies like A&F and Mountain Dew, for example, that they can use as entertainment marketing branding outlets, but I'm having a hard time getting appointments with the chief marketing officers or VPs. Any recommendations? That's part of the challenge. And so there are techniques of getting through what they call the gatekeeper, but they're all kind of difficult. One technique I like is that you combine it with direct mail. So your list is probably pretty short. You probably don't need to call 10,000 people. You have a reasonably narrow niche there, which is good. So what you can do is you send them like a box. You FedEx them like a box of stuff, something interesting, and then your phone number's in there. So when you call, it might generate a call to you. B, when you call, they know who you are.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples is there was a guy who taught sales training and worked with him for years. He was a really funny guy. And he would take the top 50 companies he wanted to work for in a given region. He would buy oars, like an oar for a boat, like a kayak oar. He would buy an oar, like a whole oar, like a short one, okay, like 4 feet long or whatever. He'd put it in a box, and he put a little sticky on it saying, is your sales team up shit creek and you don't know what to do? Call me. Here's my cell phone number. Boom.
Love it.
And he mailed out these oars. FedEx wasn't cheap, to 50 companies. And his logic was, it was math. He goes, look, if I get 1 or 2 of these companies to hire me, I make way more than the cost of this mail, even if it's a few $1,000s. Because he would charge several thousand a month for his services. No big deal. And that's what he did. He made money. Matter of fact, one time he sent his oar to the CEO or the VP of sales. I think it was the CEO. CEO gets this. But now when they get a box, are they going to open it? If you get a big FedEx box with your name on it, are you going to throw it away? Do you think it's junk mail? No, it gets opened. So he got 100% open rate, which is great to do direct mail. The CEO opened it up, saw this, walked it down to his head of marketing, VP of marketing, and said, why aren't we doing this? This is awesome. And he called the guy up and hired him. So something like that. Have you ever turned a situation where you had an unknown tax liability, federal, state, gaining interest, and it comes out of the blue? That's one of my fears. Yes, but that's only because I was stupid and not paying attention. You need to have web access to all the portals of all the places you owe taxes to and log in and check it at least once a year. You have to pay attention to these things. Yes, I've had that problem when I was young and stupid because I would just not pay attention. I wouldn't open the mail. I wouldn't go check anything. I'd never call the IRS. I just, whatever. And then I got this horrible letter saying you owe $1 billion. Yes. So just whoever you got to contact, you put it on a once a year thing in your schedule. You contact, if you can't get on the internet. Now, these days you can go on the IRS website. If it's the state of Washington or whatever, you go to the state of California. You could go in and log in and look to see what your balance is. If you can't do that, you call them. It's fine. So you just got to pay attention to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we often recommend the first person you hire as a bookkeeper. They're very inexpensive, and they'll stay on top of those things for and
that
with
too.
You.
Have someone do it for you, right? Did you answer this question?
No. So once I've closed a high-ticket consulting client, is there a framework I use to navigate the meetings with their team?
Oh, good question for Billie.
For me, it's on a case-by-case basis. I want to first know who the key players are. But I try to have individual meetings with as many people on the teams as possible. For me, that's the most important thing, because that's the time where I understand how people think and what the corporate ethos is and where the owners are getting in the way. So really what I do is I'm investigating what the leadership does before I talk to the leadership, because I want to hear from the people on the floor who are being given direction. They are the people who are experiencing the problems usually, or have systems that are outdated, but are not given a voice in a company. So my framework is usually to speak to those who are typically voiceless first and move on from there.
Here's another question for you. I have an answer, but you should take this.
Can I sub-hire someone to take care of technical work and I just take care of sales? Yes, you do
Not
it.
Can,
Rob.
you should.
Do
Not
it.
Can, you should. You're stupid if you don't.
If you have the ability to delegate and you have the financial wherewithal that you're able to do that at this point, go for it. My goal in every business is I learn new things, I take action, and then I say, hey, team, this is the action I took, and this is what we need to do to sustain this. You're in charge of that. So I delegate everything as soon as possible. I may learn it myself, but I'll delegate it, or I'll even delegate the learning to Muhammad, who is my right-hand man in Pakistan, and he'll figure it out. But our goal is always to delegate, because you don't want to pay CEO rates for lower value work. And you are the CEO. You need to be paid the rates that you're worth. If you can hire somebody for $10 or $20 an hour and your worth is $150 or $400 an hour, whatever your number is, you've got to get those things off your plate as quickly as possible, because you're spending $400 an hour to get that work done.
Have you seen George Gammon's escape from CDBC thing when he went to Argentina? Oh, I don't know. It seemed he failed, even though with gold and crypto, it has to do with the extreme inflation in Argentina. You know, I have not been following George for quite a while. I like him a lot. I think he's great, but I have not been paying attention.
Very unstable.
Well, yeah, but what you're saying makes no sense, because if he did gold and crypto, it's not relevant that he lived in Argentina. If he was in gold and crypto, he would have been done fine regardless of his location. So you're saying doesn't make a lot of sense, but I have not paid attention to George in a while. I like him. Yeah, don't know. Billy, if you have 15K to it, I will entertain investing questions, because I already addressed this early on in this podcast, but I don't want to focus on investing stuff because I don't want to get off our topic. But someone is asking you, Billy, if you had $15,000 to invest, where would you put it?
I'd start another new business, of course.
See,
I don't like my money. I like my money really working for me. So that's why I'm involved in so many different businesses. I would start a second or your third, whatever it is for you. I would start another business. Give yourself another revenue stream. Absolutely.
Should I go into debt getting my kids residencies, or is that less urgent? They live with mom. That's a very complicated question. There's no way I can answer that. I don't know what your relationship is.
You have to speak to your legal teams, because that's a case where, you know, sometimes bringing children into and out of different countries needs like parental notice and approvals. And so really speak to your lawyer about that.
You got to navigate that yourself. Yeah, there's a lot of complexities there that we couldn't help you with. Right.
But I do think it's important to at least get yours, because your children, they are your children. Most countries will allow children of people with residency a slightly easier path. So that is one consideration.
The main deal with that, and I talk about this over my other channel more, is that it's really the relationship you have with baby mama. If your kids are 6 and their mom says, hell no, they're not going to some country that I don't even know. Americans don't even know what Paraguay is. And she says, hell no, there's not much you can do legally, unless if she's with them, that means she has legal custody. So you may have to wait till they're 18 or until she calms down. It's really up to her, not you. Unfortunately, it's the way it goes. And I went through that myself. I just waited till my kids were 18. So my son lives in Mexico. Okay. Success. My daughter wants to move out of the country, but it's going to take her a few more years.
And I'm allergic to children, so I just avoided that problem.
So really doesn't worry about this stuff. Yeah.
There's a question above that, Caleb. Another fear, let's say I move to Paraguay, have a business, it goes belly up, and I want to go back to the US. I feel I'd be trapped.
I'm not answering that pussy question. I addressed that earlier. So
Bill, that is not a pussy question. Only a pussy would, only an ass would say that. Having
No, it's a
fears
pussy
is a
question.
normal
What if
part of
this? What if
life.
that? What if this? What if that? I already
Shut up
addressed
for a
that.
second and let me talk. Auntie Billy, the ginger ninja, has the floor.
All right, go ahead. Good, you can. I'm
Fears
not going
are
to.
reasonable. Fears are reasonable. So that's why you set up a bank account and you save some pennies in there. So if at some point you feel you need to go back to the US, you always have money in savings. Duh. It's the same as Caleb talks about for everything. Have a safety net, have some savings. Don't dip into that. If you feel trapped, if you're struggling, use that money and go right back. Even my dog agreed at that point.
The dog agrees with you, yeah.
That was a big one, too.
How do we get started right now on getting residencies if we don't have much money right now? Are there things we can do now that don't cost much? If you don't have any money at all, this stuff does cost some money, then you can't do it. Unless you want to make payments. But then even if you make payments, you get to fly down to Paraguay. That's going to cost you some money if you're coming from the United States, Canada.
And you have to
so
eat.
If you have literally no money, that's a separate problem. Build your Alpha 2.0 business, location-dependent business, and get the cash as fast as you can to save yourself. Exactly. That's it. If you have no money, you have no money. I mean, these things do cost some money.
Remember that your business can be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be that you punt everything else in life to the side.
Right. Macro, you already kind of answered that question. You already asked that same question, so I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to move to Uruguay and live there for 6 months a year to become a tax resident there, but I need to figure out in which country I'll register my business. Any tips? Well, we have a few things coming. One is Dubai. That's obviously my favorite, but I'm biased. I live here. Another one is BVI, British Virgin Islands. Another one we have coming is Hong Kong. So both those are zero tax, even if you're an American. You still have income tax. I don't know what country you're from. So we have, if you're on my email list, wait. We have a few things coming the next week that directly address that. Bridges, how to start a company in Hong Kong, how to start a company in British Virgin Islands. And then we have one, this is a sneak peek. We have one for you non-Americans on how to set up an LLC or corporation in the United States.
Nice.
This is a non-American. You don't pay taxes in the United States if it's an American corporation and you're not an American. So that's right.
Option. Plus, we have my company has a get residency in South Dakota service, which means we can give your business a registered agent, a registered address.
Only for an American.
Oh, no. You can get a registered address in South Dakota. I can get that for you. You can't get residency.
I didn't know that. A non-American.
So for an American,
somebody in the UK can get residency in South Dakota with a driver's license?
Not residency. They get an official address.
Okay.
And they can file their business there. And I have a registered agent.
Okay. That's a good combination for if you non-Americans want to start a business in the United States. By the way, you might be asking, if you're not an American, why would I want to start a business in the United States when everything sucks in the United States? Because an American corporate, especially if you're in a non-Western country, we've had people in our coaching programs this challenge. You're in a non-Western country or maybe an Eastern European country. You want to start a business that has access to PayPal, Stripe, the major banks, credit cards. You start a business in the United States, you have access to all that instantly. It's easier to bank. So that's why you do it. Mm-hmm. That's no reason. And you don't pay tax either. No. How do I purchase your residency service for Paraguay? Go to well, the easiest way to do it is the link I just pasted in there, Billy's Calendly link. www.calendly.com/Billy Olds, OLDS, and schedule a call with Billy right now for any time this week. Otherwise, you go to www.caleb.top/go and click Paraguay. Okay, a few more questions, and I have to run. We have to run. I've been thinking about using AI in the future to help with the business. You should. That's a topic I have coming on a live stream soon. That's going to change everything. You need to start on this shit now. It's another thing you don't want to wait for is AI. As a money-saving measure, is this a good idea with how technology is rapidly advancing? Here's the deal on this. And this is a very big topic. I'll do a whole live stream on this soon. And I'm wrestling with this myself.
Ooh, I want to be on that one with you too.
Okay. Yes. Here's the thing. AI is going to change everything in at least 5 years, 5 to 6, perhaps even 2 to 3 years. So it's just like when computers came out in the 80s. I was able to become very successful as a very young man very quickly because I was one of the few people who understood computers when it was a niche. In the 80s, the only people in computers were the nerds, and I was one of them. So and when I saw computers come, I said, this is the future. I need to learn this fast. Number one. Number two, when crypto hit, when people started hearing about it, like in 2017, that's when I started paying attention to it. I made a lot of money in 2017 from Bitcoin because I said, this is going to change the world. I need to jump on this fast. AI is the next thing. If you wait around, you're going to either be in big trouble or less likely, you will have missed out on a lot of money you could have made right now. Mm-hmm. So you need to jump on this now before it becomes the norm and it becomes ubiquitous. So today computers are the norm. You're not a nerd if you're in computers. Everyone has a computer now. In the 80s, it was just for nerds. Crypto's getting there fast.
In the 90s, they were just for nerds too. We didn't have the internet until we graduated.
Early 90s, you're right. Right. Internet, same thing with the internet. Mm-hmm. Some people jumped the internet fast, made it work. Some people were big companies didn't make them. That's different. So the answer to your question is hell yes. You need to jump on this now and start figuring out how can I use AI to make money or use as a tool in my life or tool for my business. You figure this out.
There are so many easy wins for saving labor with with AI chatbots. For example, you don't need a receptionist in a small business. You don't need a scheduler if you have AI chatbots, etc. I've been working in this space. One of my first clients was Dwight Crow, who owns a company called Whisper AI, and they use computer machine learning and artificial intelligence for hearing aid design. And their technology has been is being used by Google and some of the other big players as well. So I've known a bunch about this for a long time, specific to hearing aids, but we're applying it in a lot more ways with our clients now. And my SaaS product actually has AI chatbot features.
And if any of you know, including you, Billy, if any of you know a really good AI business expert, not an AI computer nerd, I know lots of those guys.
Same.
An AI consultant or AI expert. I know a few people kind of peripherally who is good at terms of taking AI and implement it in your business in terms of now and over the next 3-4 years. If you guys know anyone or want to recommend someone, I'd like to find kind of an AI resource that we can rely upon in this company. I don't really have someone like that yet. I want to find somebody.
Yeah, I have a couple of people that are good in that space, but aren't dedicated to
I want an AI consultant. I want an AI business consultant, not an AI tech geek. Because I mean, there's a million.
Yeah, they speak a different language.
Yeah. So if you guys know, send me an email, theonlyblackdragon@gmail.com. Okay, a few more questions and we got to go. How many new houses will you buy with your new Bitcoin profits and in which country? Well, I haven't taken profit out yet.
Neither one of us spends money on ourselves. We spend it. We tend to deploy our money in building new companies.
Yeah,
I know that you're equally as guilty as I am. We live pretty modest lifestyles and prefer to just deploy into building more cool stuff.
So I'll give you a quick overview of what I'm looking at doing. So I don't think I told you this, Billy. I'm renting a year-round apartment in Paraguay this year. When I go down, this is the year I'm doing it. Fine. I was thinking about doing it last year. Last year was chaos, so I'm doing it now. So I'm getting a full-time apartment down in Paraguay. I don't think I'm going to buy anything. Although Billy and I, we can give you a little hint of what Billy and I are thinking about to do in Paraguay long-term. We'll end the live stream with that. But so that I'm not going to buy real estate in Dubai because it's a violation of Five Flags rules. You don't want assets in your country A. So even though it's very tempting here to buy real estate, especially when the war ends in Russia, that'll be really tempting. So I keep getting tempted. I'm not going to do that. In terms of investing in real estate, it would be either South America or more likely for me, Cambodia / Vietnam, which is Southeast Asia. But like I said earlier, buying foreign real estate, buying foreign land is a little complicated, especially if you're not there on the ground most of the year. So,
yeah. But I can say that I am deploying some funds this year in Paraguay as well. I am part of a small investment group that we're putting together that is going to buy some commercial space, create some storage buildings because there isn't much storage for expats in Paraguay, and then we're going to build some living space for domicile purposes as well.
So yeah, Billy and I have talked about this. This is definitely on Billy's radar, on mine too. We'll end the live stream with this. Is that this is not this year. Well, maybe some of this is for you this year, not for me this year. But long term, I'm really building a life for myself, a 4 or 5 months out of the year life, not full-time life. That's in Dubai. But I'm really building a life for myself down in Paraguay. I'm working on that. This is the first year really building that up. So what we're looking at doing is maybe some sort of, so Billy mentioned storage units. what we've been talking about and what I would like to do is some sort of like community. And Billy is already ahead of me on this, where we buy some land, we get like either houses or small buildings. So we have people come out and either hang out with us or rent apartments, either part-time or year-round, or buy houses or apartments down there and build like our own like Unchained CEO community around Asuncion somewhere where we have this kind of base of operations in Paraguay. I think that'd be fucking awesome. Then we can offer it to you guys who are interested in doing this. And again, we can offer it for really cheap because Paraguay is super fucking cheap. So actually, you know, people where we're living down there, either full-time for some of you or half the year and building that out. And I've seen other people attempt this and fail. So I know what they did wrong. I've seen, for example, even Doug Casey did this, where what they did is they did things like in Argentina stuff, but it was very high-end, you know, mansions and very expensive grounds. And we don't want to do that. I don't think you want to do that, Billy. I think we want to do it for.
We don't believe in ostentatious displays of wealth in that way.
Right. We want to do this for normal humans, normal people with, you know, the minimum income we talk about is 85,000 US or even less than that. As long as it's
if you're 40,000 in Paraguay, you're great. You're beyond.
That's
great.
right.
You're hugely rich.
That's what we're kind of looking at mid to long term in Paraguay, really building something very special in Paraguay, because that's my long term flag for the rest of my life. And, you know, if Dubai keeps raising my taxes, hopefully they won't. I don't think they will either. But, or if something horrible happens to Dubai, which I'm not planning on, Paraguay is where I'm going. And I'm going to start spending more than 3 months a year. So this year, I'm spending 3 months a year in Paraguay. Next year, it'll be 4 months. I'm going to work up to like 5 months a year in Paraguay every year, from like, you know, to offset the weather in Dubai. It's like May to whatever that would be, May to October, every year in Paraguay with a set home down there, everything. So big plans. Cool.
We love it down there. But when it comes to any of this, don't overthink it. Again, if you have a feeling in your gut that this is a good step for you, don't overthink it. Book it, get started on your journey. The same as starting your business, guys.
That's a good theme for this, and we'll wrap this up. A good theme for today is, both on Five Flags and your business, do it now. Execute it. Stop thinking about it. Stop saying what if this and what if that. Do it. And if you do it wrong, great. You do it wrong and you course correct and you keep moving forward. Yes. I've said many times, like on my other channel, and I've said it here, normal, average, everyday, I don't know if Billy believes this or not, but I do. Normal, average, everyday people with what's coming in the Western world are going to get fucked.
They're already fucked. It's only
they're already worse.
And if this was the 1950s, for young people, if you're young people, or if you have college loan debt, you're already fucked. You're fucked out of the housing market. The boomers have fucked all of us out of that. You're there isn't a lot for you.
Right.
So get started sooner than later. And again, it doesn't have to be something big.
Yeah. If this was the 1950s.
Oh my gosh. Caleb, we had the most stunning question ever. Billy equals your wife. Oh no.
No.
Oh no.
My wife is Pink Firefly. You could go to my other channel and watch interviews with her. Billy's my sister.
Yeah, we're siblings. We are non-parental siblings. Yeah, we do not share parents, but we're siblings by connection.
Soul sister. She's my soul sister.
Exactly. I don't date old dudes. He doesn't date fat chicks, so it works out beautifully.
There you go. Cool. All right.
With that, guys, I think that's the best way to wrap it up. I mean,
best way to wrap it up. We'll wrap this up. I will see some of you on Wednesday on the other brand, and I'll be back here on Monday, and then Billy will be back here in 2 weeks.
Yes, but if you join Founders Sanctum, I'll see you on Tuesday, which is tomorrow.
Founders Sanctum, that's right. That starts tomorrow, but you can sign up anytime. But you get cheaper, you get double. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Thank you, Billy.
Thanks for having me. See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.